Good afternoon, everyone. It's Juanita Kapp from South Africa. So I guess for me it's afternoon, but for you that would be morning. I am here joined by my beautiful brother Michael LeBlanc, and we are going to have a wonderful discussion on interrupting the momentum of your old self. But Michael's also going to be talking about embodying the new self. And if you haven't met Michael before, he is an amazing author of these two wonderful books, which he blessed me with when I was in America. He sent it to me all the way to New Jersey. And the one book's title is Divine Dirt, Inspiration, Spiritual Teachings, and Gardening Tips. And the other beautiful book that I love so much as well is Align with the Divine and Manifest Your Dreams. How are you, Michael? It's so good to see you always.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. And well, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to me. I have to say, I've been enjoying your books so tremendously. Thank you so much. They are a gift. They are amazing. They are opening my mindset, my spirit. And I love the photos of the flowers in the books because they come from your own garden. Would you like to tell the audience about that a little bit?
Yeah, both of those books, they all started with I would just write these inspirational pieces as an author. Every morning I would just sort of write these inspirational. A lot of times I was writing for myself, like I needed the inspiration.
Yeah.
And so I would write them and I would share them on social media and I would share a photo from my garden because all of those are flowers from my garden. And it's my own photography, it's my own garden, and it's kind of spiritual writings, metaphysical, and also self help, personal growth. So there's a lot of how tos in there. But as I would write them, people were writing me back and saying, "Hey, I was really doubting myself, and that really helped." And so there was just a lot of I was writing them for me, but there was a lot of value for others. And so I kept doing it. And after a while, I had a collection of them. And I was in prayer and meditation, and just this kind of divine idea came through of, turn that into a coffee table book. And so Divine Dirt, the first one with the orange cover,
Yes.
was
This one.
was born. And so it's a each chapter is a standalone chapter. You really think about your life, you open it up and you read some, right? I had I'll tell you two quick stories on that. I had a woman, we were just visiting. I was doing a book signing, her and her friend. We were laughing, cutting up, and I said, "Hey, you just take the book, you think about your life, you open it up, right, and read what's there." So one of the friends, she stood off to the side. She took the book, she opened it up, and I'm just visiting with the other one. And all of a sudden, she started crying, and we were like, "Well, what the hell happened?" Because we were just laughing a minute ago, and she said, "I did what you said." She goes, "I thought about my life. I opened it up, and there's a chapter in there called I Am Enough." And it's
Wow.
exactly what she's been struggling with, was just feeling like she's enough. And she read the first, few paragraphs, and just it spontaneously kind of it hit the spot, right? It just hit the spot.
Yes. The
And
universe.
and another woman, she was in Arkansas, and she emailed me, and it was a lengthy email. She said, "I don't usually write this much. I want you to understand what I'm going through, so you understand how helpful your book is being." And her
Yeah.
31-year-old son had taken his life, and he was married with children, and it just was devastating to everyone, and
Yeah.
her sister, and her daughter, and the family, of course, and I guess it was about 4 months later, she's emailing me, and she said her sister had Divine Dirt, and she had a copy of Divine Dirt, and her sister's like,
Yeah.
"Have you started reading it?" And she goes, "No." And she's just trying to exist, right? Just deal with her grief,
Get through it. Yeah.
and she started reading it out of it, with her sister's encouragement. And she was writing me to tell me that my chapter, Fear to Joy in 12 Minutes,
Mm.
was the first thing that was giving her any relief from her grief during her day.
Wow.
And in that chapter, I share what I call my true self agreement.
Oh, I
And
love that.
And that agreement is also what I wanted to talk about today, with the way of interrupting your old self
Yeah.
and the momentum that gets going with our old negative beliefs and things like that.
Mm.
How do
Mm.
we interrupt that? But also, how do I embody my dream? How do I embody my new self, right?
Yes.
And that true self agreement is one of
Mm.
those. one of those ways. And um, but anyway, I just it was such a great response to Divine Dirt. I kept writing them. I always take pictures, and I'm always, I love gardening. And so
So
Divine Dirt Digging
beautiful.
Deeper, which is the second one, that one came to life. And that one, it's just in the final touches, so it's almost about to go public. You happen to be in the country, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'll get to see her again. And mailing something to South Africa
It's a
is
trip.
it's not the easiest thing in the world. Um, so, but that one, what
Yeah.
the beauty of Divine Dirt Digging Deeper is the whole idea of digging deeper. Ann Bruce is a best-selling author with McGraw Hill, and she's my talent manager on that book. And she goes, well, let's think about how we could get the reader to go further into your material. And so the whole idea of contemplation exercises was born, and the digging deeper concept,
Yeah.
was how do I help the reader go deeper? So each chapter in
Mm.
Divine Dirt Digging Deeper has a contemplation exercise where I kind of take you by the hand and guide you through the material to apply it, to your own life. And but in
Amazing.
both books, if you're a gardening lover, have gardening tips in the back.
Mm. And the photography, let me tell you, is amazing. I love, love, love. Every single flower is unique and it comes from Michael's own garden. And
Thank
we want to come together today to talk about interrupting, the momentum of your old self because it's a new year, there's new projects, there's new things that we want to do. We are forever scaling, we're forever growing personally and professionally. And we did a few lives the other day and we had
you.
technical difficulties, but we said we are going to come back because this is a message that has to be heard. Michael, tell us more about interrupting the momentum of your old self, your old patterns, the things that doesn't serve you any longer.
Sure. When you decide you want to stretch, right? You want to grow. It's like you're here and you feel like you want to, whether it's an improvement in your business, a relationship, your health, whatever that might be. You deal with anxiety, depression, and you're trying to move past, heal from that.
Yeah.
Um, that new version, however, there's a lot of momentum in the old self. There's a lot of
Mm.
neurology already wired in. There's a lot of chronic feeling states already wired in. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of mindset and thought patterns that are already kind of wired in. And so just because I want to do something and grow and stretch myself doesn't mean all this old wiring is going to just shut up.
Oh, yes. How true is that,
you
right?
know,
It's
and
there.
and I want to just talk a little bit about what I mean by the momentum, right? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't take much sometimes to feel very good about your life one day, especially if you're stretching. Let's say you're growing your business and you feel really good about it, and the next morning you can wake up and feel like it's you're the biggest disappointment in the world, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's never going to happen, all that kind of stuff. And I go through that, right?
All of
And
us do.
and it can be frustrating, but it's important to understand there's a momentum to the old stuff.
Mm.
And the best way I can describe it is when you're learning how to drive, just think about beginning to learn how to drive, right?
Yes.
How old were you when you were first learning how to drive?
I was probably what was it like 14? We could
Okay.
go for our learners. Yeah,
Yeah.
14 years old.
Yeah. And same with me. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so they threw us on a tractor first.
Exactly.
like if you're going to damage something, do it out there.
You're gonna damage the field.
Yeah. Then it was my dad's truck, right? But when you're first learning, it's like there's so many things you're paying attention to:
Yes.
signaling, mirrors, speed, brakes, acceleration, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, your nervous system and your brain, they follow what I call your awareness, your divine awareness, your
Mm.
focus. And as it notices you are doing something often,
Yes.
its job is to serve. It's like, hey, I'm going to put this on autopilot for you. I'm just going to make
Yeah.
it easier for you.
Yes.
So so most of us can get in our car today and drive from A to B, and we don't even recall the drive.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we're doing all those things. It's just they're all hardwired. And
Mm.
that's because your brain and nervous system follows your awareness. It's like, hey, you're doing a lot of this. We're going to
Yes.
hardwire it for you. And
Yeah.
it makes sense when we think of skills, right?
Mm.
But the truth is, your awareness, it's also paying attention to thoughts you focus on a lot and feeling states you visit a lot. So
Mm, mm.
if somewhere along the way, because of life experience, you took on this belief, let's just say I'm not enough, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not smart enough, I'm not competent enough, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Um, your your inward world is thinking that way a lot, and then there's feelings that go with that, and your brain and nervous system, it's like, hey, you tend to think about not being enough a lot, you tend to feel crappy a lot. Let
Yeah.
me just help you, let me just put that on autopilot. I'm going to make it easier for you to feel like you're not enough and think like you're not enough.
Mm.
It's like
It
your brain and
helps.
nervous system's not discerning.
Yeah.
It's gonna be shitty if you keep doing that. It's not
Just
gonna.
nailing
It's
it
not.
on.
It's just paying attention to. You
Yeah.
focus here a lot. We're just going to put it on autopilot. And so what happens is, like just the other day, it's like I'm feeling really good about things in my business, and I've got 4 different lines of influence as a writer. I'm a coach. I
Yeah.
teach my own workshops. I've got an online store. It's like, and all of those pieces are moving and fine. And then one day I
Beautiful.
wake up and it's like, it's just never going to happen. It's never going to get where
Mm.
you want it, and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's just old momentum. It's
Yes.
old wiring, it's old tapes,
Mm.
and it's
Mm.
been around. It didn't just start,
Yes. It
but
built.
it's been there,
Yeah.
and it's just the momentum.
Mm.
And so I wanted to talk about one, helping people understand
Yeah.
the momentum is just there because that's where your focus was. And there's often a lot of reasons why your focus
Mm.
went that way,
Yeah.
but I can interrupt the momentum, and that's what I want to talk about. And then how
Beautiful.
do I embody the new self, the improved
Yes.
version of me, the me, the
Yeah.
with the more business, for example.
Mm.
And so, first off, if you got a car traveling at 150 miles an hour, right? So that's
Yeah.
your mind, that's your brain, and it's racing, and it's feeling like you're not enough, and it's feeling anxious or worried or whatever.
Yeah.
Often we resist that inside. We resist this state of feeling, this state of being.
Yeah.
And so it's like I got a car going 150 miles an hour, and I've got my foot on the accelerator, and I'm also trying to put my foot on the brake. And it
Mm.
doesn't work well because my foot's still on the accelerator.
Yeah.
And so that resistance is first thing I have to do when I notice I'm caught up in my old self, I'm caught up in the old
Yes.
momentum, I'm caught up in the old feelings.
Yes.
It's like it's really better to get my foot off the accelerator than just try to
Yes.
hit the brake, right?
Mm.
Because you're not going to stop a car at 150 miles an hour quickly anyway.
No.
But if I could release the accelerator,
Yes.
I'll naturally start slowing down, right?
Yes.
So I'm just
Maybe in a more healthier manner than
yeah.
just.
So I wanted to talk a quick.
Yeah.
How do you do that? And a simple way, and I'm just going to share a simple way to interrupt the momentum, meaning get my foot off the accelerator,
Yes.
is to literally, if I deliberately sense my breathing in my
Mm.
heart center. So I'm doing
Yes.
two things. I'm sensing my breath in and out here, and I'm sensing this general space called my heart space, my heart center. If I do that, and I just begin to breathe and sense here, and I'm saying the word sense on purpose. If I asked you to sense your breathing in your nostril, you could sense it, you could feel it. If I ask you to sense your breathing here, your awareness shifts here, and you could sense breathing in and out of here. But when you sense something, you're not thinking, so you interrupt thought. So if I'm sensing a person next to me, I'm sensing them. My being is engaging a different aspect of me. I'm not thinking that person, I'm sensing that person. So if I've got negativity in my old self running at 150 miles an hour, I want to get my foot off the accelerator. The moment I begin to sense my breath and sense my heart center, the sensing lets me interrupt thought. It lets me start letting go of the 150 minute an hour negative thinking, old self feeling, and rest it here. And that begins I start taking my foot off the accelerator. The longer I stay with this breath and heart center, the more the car will slow down. If I just do it for one breath, I'm not going to do much to the 150 mile an hour car, right? I've got to really stay with it for a moment. But your feelings will always follow your focus. And so if I
Yes.
shift my breathing here and
Yes.
I sense this, I let off the accelerator. Now I'm going to go from 150, 140, 130. If I stay with it, you'll feel a shift. You'll feel an ease. You'll feel a little bit of relief. You'll start feeling that in your being. So, so one way to interrupt the old self is first, let me just acknowledge it. Let me get my foot off the accelerator, not just try to jam on the brake while my foot's still on the accelerator, because I just causes a lot of resistance and it feels actually worse. And it doesn't stop it. So breathe here, sensing my breath, sensing my heart stuff, interrupts thinking. It starts my foot off the accelerator, slowing
Yes.
down. One
Yes.
other thing I just wanted to share from an anxiety stress point of view is when I breathe deliberately here, and I'll call it my all is well breath, I deliberately breathe that breath. It changes the rhythm of your heart. It starts improving the rhythm of your heart. When you're stressed, worried, in an anxious spot, your rhythm of your heart is a little more erratic, if you will. Incoherent would be the research language, coherent would be the other language. But it's really just improving the rhythm. And the reason that matters, though, is your stress response is happening in the primitive part of your brain in the amygdala.
Mm. Yeah.
A positive thought, like if I'm feeling really anxious, I'm really feeling like a loser, the car is traveling 150 miles an hour, and
Yeah.
I think a thought, well, all is just fine. I'm great, right? Life is good. It does very little to that momentum. So I tend to say I have this talent. I can think a positive thought and still feel like crap all at the same time, right? And and I think a lot of us do that. It's like because positive thought does have energy, it is true,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it can't reach into the primitive part of your brain any kind of way that's quick.
Recording in
That's going
progress.
to give you a good relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Just like the wind.
so what I suggest is if you improve the rhythm of your heart through your breathing, the cells of your heart are in sync with the cells of the amygdala in the primitive part of your brain.
Mm. Mm.
And 90% of the communication going to your brain from your heart, that communication between these two neurologically, 90% of it is going from your heart to your brain and not the other way around.
Wow. Contrary to popular belief.
So
Yeah.
those two things, if I improve the rhythm of my heart through my breath, the cells of my heart are in sync with the amygdala. So that begins a communication that tells my amygdala to chill out. So
Yeah.
within 3 minutes, 5 minutes, according to the research, I literally can start shifting my biochemistry out of stress and back into wellness, right?
Wow.
So, so your breath and your heart rhythm have way more power and effectiveness on that stress response in the primitive part of your brain than a positive thought does.
So that we have more control over this really than we think
You
because we
can,
are
because
able.
you
Yeah.
could you could right now deliberately breathe a breath that equals all is well without anything changing in your life. I could deliberately breathe there. I could stay there. I'll feel my heart rhythm improve. I'll start shifting and my feelings will start improving.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, my brain and my amygdala are talking
Yeah.
and my heart
Releasing
and my
this.
amygdala are talking and
Yeah.
it's just kind of telling it to shush, everything's okay. Right. And
Gosh.
then right? So one thing, just the first part of this whole equation is if I'm in it, I've got to get my foot off the accelerator, not just try to jam on the brake and have my foot on the accelerator. And I got to let go of the resistance. So one is just sort of acknowledging, hey, it's my old self again. It's the old crap again. Let me just breathe well. Let me take charge of my focus. Let me sense my breath. As I do that, I let go of the accelerator. I start slowing down the car. Right?
Naturally.
If I keep it up, the communication is going to start improving in my brain. It's going to start talking to the amygdala. It's going to start shutting off the stress response, and my biochemistry will start shifting.
Hmm.
And my feelings will improve just naturally.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Beautiful.
so that's one of the how do I interrupt the momentum of the old self?
Yes.
The other part, I want to go further, right? I don't want to just, well, so I feel better. I can
Yes.
feel I'm shifting, but I want to go further.
Yes.
I want to really feel and tune into this new self, this true self, my best self. I
Mm.
want to see me the way my divine self sees me, is what I
Yes.
call it. So that's where I want to introduce the true self agreement, which is what Nancy, the mother that her son had taken her life, right? That
Yes.
exercise was the first thing giving her some relief from her grief.
Mm.
And
Mm.
here's how the true self works. So first, I get out of my head, I get into my heart. That's always step one. I don't care what the hell you want to do that first.
Yes.
If you're into affirmations, right? If you're into affirmations and you want them to have a bigger effect,
Yes.
get out of your head space, get into your
Mhm.
heart space first. Feel that shift, feel that ease, and
Mm.
then affirm. And
Yeah.
now your affirmation will reach further into your being
Mm.
than if you
Mm.
just do it as a head game, right?
Yeah.
So we're here. This can be the true self agreement can be a journal exercise. It could be something if you're in a room by yourself, you could do it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
There's benefits to that. Um, mentally, I can also do it as a walking, like when I'm walking my dog and as a walking exercise. So there's three different
Oh,
places we'll touch on it, right?
good idea.
Here's the agreement. It's pretty simple. So you're making a decision, right? I want to get out of the old self. I want to embody my new self. I want to align with my divine self, my true
Mm-hmm.
self. The first part of the agreement is one, you just have to agree there really is a divine self. There really is this true self.
Yeah.
And that's step one. I just have to agree that that is. And that true self, that divine self, there isn't any experience you've been through that has harmed it, stopped it,
Mm.
wounded it, right?
Yes.
We've had experiences, when my parents, they were high school sweethearts, but then I think it was that time in life where you watched a lot of soap operas. and,
Some
and
of them are still going. I saw the other day.
and it's like somehow the soap opera made it into my house. And so, my mom, I love my mom, but she fell in love with my dad's best friend, and this whole drama ensued.
Oh,
And my dad started, he was losing his love of his life, and then he
oh,
started drinking, and they started fighting, and so sometimes there were physical fighting, and it just became, again, the soap opera moved into our home. And so
yes.
waking up became this, like, what am I waking up to? you
I
know
hear you.
and so there's all reasons why we have stuff and the old stuff, right?
That weigh on us. Yeah.
But in that, my truest self was experiencing all that, but not wounded by that.
Mm.
So first part of the agreement is, yes, there is a true self, a
Mm.
divine self.
Yeah.
Second part of the agreement is, for the next, I'm just going to use an example, 10 minutes,
Yes.
I'm going to grab my journal
Mm.
and I am going to write
Yeah.
only thoughts I sense my truest self knows about me and my life.
Yes.
And if it's me and I'm growing a business, then it's about me and my life and growing my business.
Mm. Mm.
If it's about a relationship, it's about me, my true self, and my relationship or my finances or whatever the topic is.
Yes.
So I agree there is a true self, a divine self. I agree for 10 minutes, I'm going to only write thoughts
Hmm.
that I sense align with what my true self knows to be true about me and my life.
Hmm.
And then I begin writing. I reach for that first thought that I think my
Mhm.
true self has about me and my life.
Yeah.
And then I write it down. And I just sort of repeat the question. All right, what's one more thought my true self knows about me and my life? And I write it down.
Yeah.
Now, if you notice, though, I'm not writing any reason why I'm worried. I'm not writing any reason why I feel like a loser. I'm not
You're
writing any
giving that
reason
energy.
why things aren't working out.
Mm.
None of that is allowed
Mm.
because
Mm.
that that belongs all to the old self.
Yes.
And this agreement is with my truest self.
Yeah.
So for 10 minutes, if I notice like there's a thought creeping in that has to do with the old stuff, well, but I've tried this and it's never going to really change. You can think that, but don't write that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You notice the thought, let it go, come back to the agreement. Hey, what's one more thought my divine self knows to be true about this? You felt this way before, you've tried something new before, and you really succeeded before, so there's no reason this can't happen again, right? And so I write that down. And what you're doing in this 10 minutes during writing this down is you're only reaching deliberately
Yes.
thoughts that you think your truest self knows to be true about you, and you're writing those down. The writing helps you focus in a stronger way. It helps you embody what you're doing in a stronger way.
Yeah.
And what you'll notice as you keep the agreement for 10 minutes is you'll feel this internal shift. You'll feel a little bit of a ease, a little bit of a relief. And when I wrote the chapter on fear to joy in 12 minutes that Nancy referred to,
Yes.
it was a morning I woke up and I was just anxious, really scared. It's like a 10 out of 10. And all I did was wake up. Like, I mean, that
Mm.
was nothing
It is
really
like
bad. Nothing really bad had happened that morning. I just woke up. There it was. And and it was just
that
old.
momentum.
It was. It was just old momentum, old habit, old wiring. Right.
Yeah.
Mornings were a rough time just growing up.
Yeah.
So I grabbed my journal. I went sit. I breathed first,
Yeah.
and then I made the agreement. And I timed myself. I was just curious. And so 12 minutes later, I literally went from feeling a 10 out of 10 on anxiety. I really felt great about life. I
Wow.
just, and so the title to the chapter is Fear to Joy in 12 Minutes because it took me 12 minutes. All right.
Fast.
So one, you want to interrupt the momentum of the old, but just use your breath. Sense your breath. Sense my breath in my heart. I get my foot off the accelerator. Trust it. You'll start feeling a little bit of relief, right? You're not going to go from 150 miles an hour to zero. If that's an expectation, you're just setting yourself up. But I can feel better than that, and this will
Yes.
help me do it.
Yeah.
The other is let me use this true self agreement to really begin to embody my true self, my better self, right? So, because the divine in you, let's just say it's your business, the divine in you knows you from the standpoint of your prayer answered, not from the view of you asking. What we tend to do is we stay stuck in the asking until we see something out here. Well, out here is all effect, it's not cause. So I've got to get my inside aligned with my prayer answered, the same way my divine self already knows me to be. My divine self already knows me succeeding and doing well. I've got to join that. As I join that,
Yeah.
then I'll begin to see the manifestation of it externally.
Yeah.
But if my divine self knows me to be successful already, and I keep hanging out in this old place of it's not, I've got two different currents going on. There's two different
Mhm.
streams of
Mhm.
consciousness going on. There's two different
Yeah.
energies going on, and they're
Yeah.
not in sync. They're opposing each other.
Yes.
And
Taking that power
so,
away. Yeah.
and I can stay there for years, and it's like, well, this never works. It's not happening for me, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I've got to get my streams aligned,
Go together. Yeah.
right? So I mentioned the true self agreement as a journal exercise, but you can also do this out loud,
Yeah.
and you could also do it while you're walking, right? So I'm just gonna
Mm.
first I'm gonna pause. Do you have any comments or questions before I share those?
I don't. I just want to say the way that you articulate this, it makes it easy for people that are listening, that are really struggling to get out of, old mind patterns, that old momentum. And also having shared your own story about your life, with everything that you've gone through, many people can relate to that. And often people really want to move on to the next level. They really want to let go, but they don't know how to do this. So, what
Mm-hmm.
I find edifying about what you've been saying is you explain exactly how to do it. Take that breath, take that minute, and then. So I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Thank you so much, Michael. This is amazing.
Great. And it's just don't be angry with yourself for the old stuff. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you just it got practiced. Your brain and nervous system noticed it. It just hardwired it. The beauty with your
Definitely
brain and
for
nervous
you.
system is as you focus on this new, as you focus on your true self and you practice that, your
Yes.
brain and nervous system's doing what it did before. It's noticing, hey, your awareness goes here a lot now. Let me hardwire this for you. Let me make it easier for you to think about your true self. Let me make it easier for you to align and feel
And have
that,
the interest. Yeah.
right? So it's going to do what it did over there. And people sometimes will ask, well, what do I need to do about the old stuff?
Yeah.
And the truth is, nothing. Leave it be. It's done.
It's over and done with.
It's every time I go over there and tell the story and I keep it alive. I give it more breath. It's like
Yeah.
it's like breathe life over here. Breathe life into
You're
what
right already.
if you keep breathing life into what you don't want, you're not breathing life into what you do want, and like make a choice. I want to breathe life into what I do want. And as
Yeah.
I do that though, your nervous system, your brain, it's noticing and it will start hardwiring. And this
Beautiful.
old
You.
stuff will really kind of fade out and weaken.
Mm, mm, mm.
It's kind of like if you think of a lawn and you have a path you tend to walk, right? It just kind of grew. It makes a path,
It
right?
does. Yeah.
Well, if I let's say that's my old self. Well, I want to walk this way now, and
Yeah.
I
Make it
start
your
walking this
best.
way. And
Yeah.
initially, I just walk and I walk, but over time, if I keep practicing it, I make a path, and
Yeah.
and so does your neurology. And
Yeah.
the
I
old the
often
old
think,
path, well, the grass
yeah.
just grows back.
Yeah, it covers it, it's like it never happened. I always tell people you are the own thought leader in your life. You can recalibrate, you can decide what you think and feel, and like you said, make that new path.
Right.
Take that moment, recognize that cycle, recognize that loop, and say, ah, put on not putting on the brakes, letting go of the fuel, making
Right.
that momentum slower until it stops. And now I'm in charge. What do I want to do? We can really manifest and create whatever we want just by using our thought patterns like you've mentioned. I love that. Absolutely. Make that new path.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you go to the old or something triggers that, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
just love yourself through that. Don't
Mm.
just get mad at yourself. And it's just old stuff. And the
Yeah.
divine in you isn't not loving you because you revisit some old crap.
Yeah.
you know, it's like,
Like, well, that
right.
happened.
So let me just share. So the journal exercise is one. And
Yes.
at the end of the 10 minutes, you just really sense how you're feeling, right? If like at the end of that 12 minutes, then when I wrote in
Yes.
that chapter, I really was feeling great. So I kind of kept writing. I didn't quit at 12 minutes. It's like, well, I had
Oh,
time. Let me keep going, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And the other way you can do the true self agreement, though, is I'll do a voice recorder on my phone. and I'll stand up in, say, my office or somewhere where I can speak and not be self-conscious, right? And I will literally make the agreement verbally, and I hit record,
Yes.
and I record myself really reaching for thoughts that align with my true self, but I speak them out loud. And when you speak it out
Really.
loud, you
Mm,
feel it. You feel that you're really resonating. It sounds true, or it's like, you weren't all that convincing that last time. You said the
yeah.
words, but it what you weren't really there.
It was just something that you rambled off. It wasn't
Yeah,
like
it's like
that
you said the
moment.
words, but I don't think you really meant it, And so you'll hear that though, and so I can say the thought again because it was the right thought, but I can reach into feeling the meaning of it and the truth of
Mm,
it. And
yeah.
I can say those things and I record it. The beauty is after say 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then I stop the recording, you can go back and listen to your own recording. And there's power in that because it's your voice you're hearing when you
Mm.
listen. And you listen to your voice in your head all day long.
Yes. So you're
it's
gonna, if you hear it, you're gonna listen again.
it's a powerful voice. The problem is most of the time our self-talk matches the absence of our
Yeah.
dream rather
Yes.
than the presence of our
Yeah.
dream fulfilled. And so, which is a whole nother chapter in digging deeper. But
Yeah.
so listening back to it and doing it out loud it's a strong way to embody what
Mm, mm,
you're learning, right? Which
yeah.
is your new self, the self
Yes.
that is successful.
Discovering that real you. Yeah.
Yes, you're embodying it in a bigger way when you
Yes.
stand up and say it than when you just
Mm,
journal it, right?
yes. Yeah.
So so that's another way to do that. And
Mm,
then, like I
mm,
said, record it, you can hear it back.
yeah.
So I'll just share another tip on the standing up and doing it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for, I don't know, 18 years, I probably did leadership training in about 25 different countries for Chevron, ExxonMobil, Saudi Aramco. A lot of these major corporations hired me and I would go, and the company I worked with, we would design training, deliver training worldwide.
Yeah. Wow.
But when it was new, right? I wanted to be in front of an audience
Mm,
feeling like it wasn't new to me. I knew what I was talking about, right? So if we
mm-hmm.
designed a new training, I needed to get that embodied in me quickly. And
Yeah.
the way I would do it is I would lock myself in a room. I would pull up my new training and PowerPoint and flip charts and things I was going to be using in a real classroom setting
Yes.
or conference room, whatever. And I would literally begin to facilitate, engage with my audience, ask questions, hear it come
Wow.
out of my mouth, hear me
Yeah.
explain a concept. But I would do it real time, real life, real body, real story. What story did I want to share about me? All that kind of stuff. And I
Mm,
would rehearse it in a real way.
yes.
And I would embody it quicker than if I
Mm,
just reviewed notes.
yes.
And then
Yes.
when I went teach it, even if it was the first time, a lot of times other trainers and folks I worked with would compliment me on how well I did that and how experienced it seemed. Like it didn't seem like
Mm,
the first time we did this
yeah.
training. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, it wasn't for me. It was like this is probably the 20th time I did it, but this time there were people,
Yes. This time there was a crowd.
you know,
There was an
which
audience.
which is different, but I wasn't practicing for the first time in front of 20 people. I
Yes.
really rehearsed it. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's like with this true self agreement, let me rehearse my new self.
Mm, that's
I've
a good.
rehearsed my old self. That's why I'm good at that. I can feel like
Serious.
a loser like that. It's like I'm good at that. It's like, well, let me get good at Michael feeling successful, right?
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
so
Love
journal, You can speak it. The other thing is walking. I call it kind of a walking meditation of sorts. And I every
Mm.
morning I walk my dog. That's routine, right? I wake up, I do my meditation, my prayer time, and then off we go for a walk. And I'm
Yeah,
an early bird, so all that's easy for me.
that's
But
good.
while I'm walking, I will play with this. It's like, let me walk as my new self. Let me walk
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the one who's already established in his business and his four things he's got. And let me walk as him.
Yes.
That's the
Embrace.
divine knows him. Let me walk like him and not walk like my old self and not think like my old self. What would my
Yeah.
new self, what does the
Yeah.
successful self, what does my divine self think? Let me do all that while I walk my dog.
Mm.
And what it
Mm.
helps you do is you're in life, you're not in a meditative state, you're engaged in
Mm.
your world, you're doing something, and you're also incorporating and ingraining in your nervous system stronger
Yes.
this new self, this divine self, this true self.
Yeah.
So, so doing it
We
that
have.
way,
Yeah.
be the third way is a good practice as well. So,
I love the rehearsing. I love the rehearsing out loud.
yeah,
Kind of speaking that into being before it really happens. And programming is a big thing, Michael, to me as well, of our minds, because when we grow up, we have so many preconceptions. We have worldviews that we really subconsciously have no clue where we got them from, and it's up to us. It's our responsibility to say, well, I take responsibility for my person. I take
mhm,
responsibility for my family and my life, and I have to be the best version of me.
right,
So, getting to that place to say, this is where I'm going to make a change, and this is where I'm going to just develop into the person that I was born to be. You did that, you took away all the negativity, you reprogrammed yourself to feel good about Michael, and look what transpired. Look at everything that has come from that. You are an author, you are a coach, you train, there's so many things. You're a powerful manifester, and all of that came about because you just put your foot down and said, well, this is not going to be my reality. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to be happy at what I do. I'm going to inspire other people. And I've known you for quite a while, and I've seen over the months how you have helped people really to get to know themselves and realize who they are and who they want to be.
yeah.
So I commend you on the things that you are busy with. Absolutely phenomenal.
And two things I wanted to share with that. So one is I always, and I do this with all of my clients. It's like I want you out of your headspace, and I
Yeah,
want you tapped into this divine space. Because
yeah,
from there, let's get clear about what you want. From there, let's already know that space of it done, that prayer answered. And as you do that, so many things line up easier. It doesn't mean you don't take action in your life. It's like you do.
yeah,
I
yeah.
have I have 5 books, 3 of my own, and I'm featured in 2 others. And it's like I had to write those. They didn't.
Yes. They didn't just like,
and
"Toop,
and
here's a book."
my first book I wrote when I was working full time corporate America,
Yeah,
traveling. I was on the road like 80% of the time. You know. And I wrote that book on airplanes. I wrote that book in coffee shops around the world. I would come home on a weekend and I would just like, all right, I'm writing Saturday, leave me alone, you know.
yeah,
Um, but I wanted to write it, and it's like so there
yeah,
was action, right? But it was divinely inspired, and all the even the store, like when you go to divinedare.net and inspirational products, it's like that was just a divine idea, and it's like it's like, well, how the hell do you do that? And it's like, all right, let's keep. So what I always
let's move
encourage people to
forward.
do
Yeah.
is get out of your head, and you're tapping into an intelligence that created universes.
Yes.
My brain is only going to rely on what it knows from life experience, other people's
Mm. It's going
experience.
to go back to
Past.
that stuff. Yeah.
It's a very limited knowledge base. So let me go to this other intelligence that actually created that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like let me go there and tune in there and live from there and manifest from there, and get inspired action from there. And
Yeah.
and I'm not perfect at it, but it is what I try to be masterful at. It's what I teach
Yes.
my clients to
You
do.
weave that together for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the other thing is just I love when you're listening to them talk about something they want, and then all of a sudden it's wrapped in these limits. They
Mm.
immediately just they don't even realize they're wrapping it in limits.
Yeah.
I want this, but then there's all these reasons why it's going to be hard for this to happen.
Mm.
And it's so what
Mm.
I guess I love about through my writings or coachings or workshops is you're helping people suspend that belief.
Yes.
And when I can suspend it and lessen
Mm.
it, and then
Mm.
I can allow what I would say more of something miraculous to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can. It's like, well, maybe the universe can do exactly that.
Exactly. And it can.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
not limited. Yeah, because and I'll just share this thought is
Yeah.
your divine self. It created matter, space, and time. It uses matter, space, and time. It doesn't.
Mm.
It never needs to consult with the physical life to decide if something can be or not be.
Yes.
We are unfortunately more trained to only believe in matter, space, and time and
Mm.
physicality. And
Mm.
so
Mm.
every time we think of something, all the limits of matter, space, and time come into play with what that new thing is we would like.
Mm. Mm.
But your divine self, again, causes this. It created that. It's not limited by matter, space, and time. It can arrange it however the hell it wants to arrange it.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
do whatever it wants. It's
So
in control.
it's like I really have to catch the ways my mind naturally will limit
Mm.
some of the ideas I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, and anyway, and so the breath thing I talked about, the
What
true self
space?
agreement is another. Both of
Yeah.
those are really
That
wonderful
is-
ways
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
kind of keep helping you do that.
Yeah.
And it's really thinking and
Shifting.
feeling. I'm gonna share one more thing just because they keep coming.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I always I when I coach when I facilitate workshops I listen here.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
and the one thing
That's
I want to emphasize is how do you know if you're embodying this new state? And it's going to be the way you feel. If
mm,
I start focusing, let's say I've grabbed my journal and I'm really doing my best to align with my divine self and my true
yeah.
self and
Yeah.
write those thoughts or speak those thoughts. And I notice my feeling is improving. My genuine feeling state
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
improving. You're
Mm,
shifting your feeling state equals I have shifted my consciousness.
mm, mm,
And
mm.
that's how I know I'm embodying the new place. And if
Yeah.
I'm feeling it, it means my neurology is on board. It's
Yes.
rewiring because I'm the feeling, the biochemistry that goes with feeling is in place.
Mm, 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 mm.
If I'm doing it, but I'm not feeling it, then
Yeah.
then it's still just a mental exercise. I haven't really shifted consciousness. I haven't really embodied
Yeah.
anything new.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your feeling is
Yes.
key to
Yeah.
the question, well, am I doing it or not doing it? Am I embodying
Mm,
it or not embodying
mm,
it? Am I
mm,
moving
mm,
into the new state of consciousness, new state of being that equals my prayer answered or not?
mm,
And
mm,
it's, well, do you feel different or not? If you feel
mm,
different, if you
mm.
feel better,
Yeah.
then the feeling means yes, you have shifted consciousness.
Yeah.
If
That's the place you want to be.
if you're not
Yes.
feeling different yet, then no, you've done some mental stuff,
Yeah. You've moved the pieces around, but you
but
haven't really done
you
anything.
haven't really shifted consciousness. You haven't shifted and embodied a new state.
Yeah.
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 So
I love what you
yeah,
brought. I love breaking that pattern. That's the first thing is recognizing the pattern, breaking it,
yeah,
and then intentionally doing something about it and taking back your power, because we really, and as you've said, we have that power in us. The universe has that power to make this a better place and a better life for us. There are endless possibilities of what our lives could be, of what we can manifest into. And I always write in my journal, I'm a powerful manifester. I always speak that into the universe because I
Hmm.
know it's going to be reciprocated. And I want to tell the audience today, if there are things that you are battling with, Michael has just literally given you the map to get to a place where you interjected in that cycle and you start a new one. Like he explained, there's an old road, everybody's been walking on that road. Of course, we see the little footpaths. The grass will grow over the moment that you decide to make a new way, when you decide to be that pioneer of your own life. So I thank you, Michael. Any last final words? Thank you for the wonderful wisdom that you've shared. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with, that we can maybe just put over to them before we log off?
Just to the old self, it does have momentum,
Yeah.
and just lovingly deal with
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up and hate yourself, and because
Yes.
all that does is you're putting brake and accelerator at the same time, right?
Yeah. That's going to be
Uh,
confusing.
but I will let people know, it's like, if you are interested in experiencing what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I do free sessions with people, and they're a true session, meaning let's talk about it, and then let me guide you through an energy, what I call
Yes.
guided energy meditations, where I'll help you get out of your head and into your heart, and then from there I will help you embody the new state and
Yeah.
feel the new state. And so I'll give you because to me experience is the best teachers. So in those
Yes.
initial sessions, I want you to have an experience with me and with yourself, more than
Mm,
a conversation about stuff, right? So,
yes.
um, so my email, if they want to reach me, is Michael,
Mhm.
Michael, at createwithconsciousness.com.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And
Let me tell
all
you,
of these things are in my books.
yeah. Oh, and get your copies of these books. So Michael's website is divinedirt.net. That's for his merchandise. And everything else is on createwithconsciousness.com. I have been in meditations that Michael has facilitated, especially for me. And let me tell you, I know the difference it can make. I know the positive outcomes it brings. And literally, Michael, you actually took me out of a few momentums of old self and helped me into new thinking patterns. So for the audience out there, make contact with Michael. Change your life today. The sky is the limit. The possibilities are endless.
And on the 18th, that's a Saturday, right?
I hope so. Let me see.
I'm looking real quick before I
Is it
miss.
February?
Yeah, February 18th.
Yeah.
I am going to do, it's an hour and a half workshop, and it's called Centering Prayer of the Heart. And so it's literally
What's
teaching you, it's a
yeah.
14th century meditative prayer practice, called centering prayer, but then I incorporate the heart and breath piece specifically. But
Yeah.
it really, it's a practice. How do I let go of my
Mm,
mind, of my thoughts, of my old
mm,
self,
mm,
of
mm.
the false self, and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and come back and rest in this divine space? And
Mhm.
how do I just practice that? Period. And
Yeah.
so I am going to do a work, and I'll talk about there's mental and physical health benefits that research shows, and I'll
Yeah.
touch on all that in that workshop. But it's centering prayer of the heart. It's going to be 9 to 10:30 Central Time.
Yeah.
And again, right now, they can just email me if they're interested, or message you, and you can message me.
Phenomenal. Yes, Michael and I mean, we just clicked last year. He is like a special brother to me, a family member. So if you want to reach out to Michael for his course, if you want to, and that day, the 18th, I'm so glad. Is it a Saturday? Because I would love to join.
It
That's
is. It's
wonderful.
a Saturday morning, 9 to 10:30
Love it.
Central. It's going to be in person and virtual, so
Yay.
both options are there. And
Wonderful.
yeah, I
Wonderful.
just starting to advertise it and tell people. So
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I'm going to put that in the comments of this live. I'm going to put it in the description part. So for anyone that wants to reach out, please do so and make a change today. You don't have to live the same way that you did yesterday. You don't have to go along with all the things that sometimes we believe things that we don't even realize why we hold those beliefs. Why are we in this situation? You have the power. The universe is for you. It's not against you. It wants the best. It's always conspiring for your highest good. And here we have our wonderful brother, and he's going to help you through the whole process. So I want to say thank you so much from Meticulous to
Really.
Michael. You are always such an amazing, presenter, and you're just a phenomenal person. And I'm cheering you on this journey.
Thank you. And I am going to sign up for your captor conference. I got your message on
Yay!
that. So I'll do that.
Michael is going to be one of our
Here,
speakers. Aha! So
here,
yeah,
I'll leave you with these words to
yeah.
grow through what you go through.
I love that. I love that.
That's
Grows through
the
what you go through. What is that? Oh, the same on your
same
shirt.
thing. It's one of my designs.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You bring so much color into our life, so much light and love. And we just pray, the best blessings over you in 2023 as we grow together because Michael is a part of the Meticulous family now. And he's also going to be featured at the Captor Connection Conference. So without further ado, thank you, Michael. Have a wonderful rest of your morning. And thank you to the audience. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, dear.
Bye.
Bye bye.